Has anybody seen the Toronto Sceptres? Because I did not find them at the rink tonight. Oh my gosh, what a horrible game. Sceptres lose 4-0 to the Boston Fleet at home, ending their point streak coming out of the Olympic break and dropping a game they needed so badly. Important to note, Reagan Kirk was out today, and she will be out again on Sunday's game against Vancouver. We don't know why she's out, as far as I'm aware. She seems to be with the team, but she left practice earlier in the week, and the next practice she was not on the ice. Looks like just a small injury. Hopefully it's nothing major. But Chuli is fine. She started a bunch of games for the Sceptres earlier in the season, and she did pretty well. So I don't really have any qualms starting Chuli. Her last game was a 5-0 loss to Vancouver before the Olympic break. And this game doesn't do much better for her, statistically. But you cannot blame Chuli for this loss. I think it's hard to blame any one person for this loss. Nobody showed up. Nobody. Drop of the puck, and Toronto, they looked terrible from minute one. Their defensive zone coverage was abysmal. Boston had a couple of really good chances right away, and Chuli made a couple good saves. But then Toronto broke into the offensive zone, and they got a couple of good shots off. They got a bit of zone time. They got a bit of pressure. And I was thinking, okay, is this going to be another classic early season Toronto Sceptres game where their defense is horrible but their offense is great? We've seen that so many times from this team. That wasn't the case. Their offense was also bad, and their defense was so much worse than it's ever been. Kristen De La Rovere is in Toronto's lineup for this game, listed as the 13th forward, after she got called up from being a reserve player and DeGeorge was released. De La Rovere, in her second shift of the game, I'm pretty sure, 9.5 minutes in, takes a slashing penalty. Not a great start for De La Rovere. I find it hard to blame her for this one because the game was chippy already. You might remember Toronto's last game before their, 7, 8, 10 day break they had between their games. Kind of getting shafted by the schedule a little bit. But their last game was against Boston, a 2-0 win in Boston, and that game was chippy. That game was rough and a bit violent, to be perfectly honest. And this game picked up right where that one left off. It was chippy, it was rough, and teams were going at each other from the drop of the puck, and a lot was going uncalled, and De La Rovere's slash didn't even really seem like a slash per se, and given everything else that was getting let go in the game, it's a bit weird. So I don't really fault her for that penalty. I don't think it was dumb. I think she was playing how the game was being played, and that's the one they decided to call. Whatever, no big deal. Toronto kills it off, no problem at all. But then 11.5 minutes in, Hartmetz takes a really good shot, gets redirected, and Chuli makes the save, but it came at a different angle than she was expecting it to, and she wasn't able to push the rebound where she wanted it to push, and it kind of just bounced to an area she wasn't ready to cover. Tried to jump over to make the save, but Liz Shepard puts it into the back of the net. 1-0 Boston halfway into the first. Toronto only got 4 shots in the first period, and it kind of felt like less than that. But down 1-0, not a big deal. Going to the second, it's not even a little bit better. Allegedly, Toronto had more shots that period. I don't see how. A lot of outside shots, a lot of earlier season stuff where they take too long to make decisions, a lot of muffins coming in. It's Aaron Frankel, dude. You gotta challenge her. They had 2 or 3, I'm gonna say, the whole game, solid chances. There was one, they had a great cross-crease pass to Jesse Comfer, who could not have fired it more squarely into Frankel's chest. Like, right dead center of the logo. That's kind of how Toronto's night was going. They weren't picking their corners. They weren't getting traffic in front. They weren't getting tips. They weren't getting anything. And they weren't really trying to either. But nearly 11 minutes in, Haley Wynn rips a great shot from the point, and Liz Sceptres, once again, just beautiful tip. Beautiful, beautiful tip. And I will say, great job on Liz Sceptres. Where's Toronto's defense? Where were they? Allie Monroe was standing like 8 feet to her left, guarding who? Doing what? I'm unsure. Like, guys, you need to get the opponents out of your goalie's eyes. Julie's a solid goaltender. She hasn't played in like 2 months. You gotta give her a hand. And if you're not gonna score, at least give her some defense. Like 3 minutes later, Mueller takes a shot. It takes a weird bounce. I wasn't sure if it got blocked or if Julie made an initial save or went off the post, but it's bouncing out front of the net, and Eldridge, I believe, batted it out of midair. That's what it looked like on the replay to me. Over Julie's glove. It was a flutter. It was a knuckleball. It was a weird one. 3-0 going into the second intermission, and coming into the third, we've seen this plenty of times from Toronto. They're getting rough. They're laying heavier hits. And again, the game's been chippy the entire time. But they turned it up a notch in this one. And they're laying heavier hits, and they're making plays that are skirting the line a bit more of what's going to be a penalty and what's not. And that came back to bite them near the end of the game. There's like a minute and a half left in the game, and Clara Van Wieren simply took it too far. Like, way too far when she cross-checked. I want to say Kluga, but I could be wrong. But she cross-checked Boston player in the numbers, like 3 feet away from the boards, and she crumpled. There's a line. Obviously, you want to be rough. You want to, get in their way. You want to be physical. You can't do something that, like, is intentional to hurt a person. And that's what it felt like Van Wieren got up to. Rewinding from that a little bit, 15 minutes into the third, Jamie Lee Rattray coming in on a 2-on-1, takes a shot. Julie makes a great save. Biotti takes a second shot. Julie makes an incredible second save, but can't quite hang on to the rebound. It squirts out from under her glove, and Shirley throws in the loose puck. 4-0 Boston. In case you're wondering, Toronto had 2 power plays this game. They didn't do anything with those because they never do. And that's the game. For Zilch, the most deserved loss of the season. Like, just abysmal. The team looked so disconnected from each other. They looked like they hadn't played together in the week or 10 days since their last game. The amount of passes that went to nobody, the amount of passes that actively went to the fleet, the amount of players that seemed surprised to be getting a pass when they did was not comforting at all. It seemed like they'd never played together before. It was so disjointed, so disconnected, like the whole team looked lost. And it's such a surprise when they've been half decent. Even in their losses, Kirk has kept them in their losses the past couple, but like they've at least been able to battle and fight and just grind it out. But it seemed like they were focusing more on hitting Boston than putting the puck in the back of their net. And I want so badly to just say they got Frankled. Wouldn't we all? You had a half-decent game, you got a good chunk of shots off, but you ran into Aaron Frankel. That's going to happen sometimes. That was not the case this game. I would love to say, wipe it from your memory, forget about it, it didn't happen. That's not a luxury you have. With this game complete, there are 7 games left for the Sceptres this season. 7 games. They are in the playoffs by 1 point. They are in the last spot of the playoffs by 1 point, with Ottawa and New York right on their tail, and if Vancouver gets hot, they can be in that conversation too. They're not catching Montreal, they're not catching Minnesota, and they're certainly not catching the Fleet. It's top 3, battle for 4th, Seattle. Basically, is the standings right now. You can't be counting on the other teams to lose, because they're in the same position as you are. They're battling. They're fighting. They want to get into that playoff spot. Ottawa made the finals last year. New York is itching to actually get into the playoffs. They finished last place both seasons so far. You think they don't want to motivate themselves to actually make a postseason? You can't be sleepwalking at this stage. They put themselves in this position already, playing more games than anyone else. They had opportunities to get ahead. They had opportunities to put themselves above everyone in the standings. And they missed them game after game after game after game after game. They could not get it going. And now, okay, they might not necessarily won every game since the Olympic break, but they've gotten to point every game since the Olympic break. That's worth noting. They are now on an even playing field with every team in terms of games played, and they're in the playoffs by 1 point. And you drop this one for zilch for your second shutout loss at home this season. The team can't score. They haven't been able to score all year. And the last 2 seasons, they had their rough spots. And then they went on some weird miracle run. Inaugural season, they had, an 11-game win streak? Not going to happen again. Season 2, their power play operated at 50%. Good lord, that is not happening this year. I think it's barely operating at 5%. The saving grace the past couple of games has been Reagan Kirk, who got 2 shutouts in a row. If your win condition is your goalie allowing 0 goals, you're gonna lose a lot of games. Especially if you offer up the defense you did tonight, which I'm pretty sure is harder to find than Waldo. There's never been more of a write-off of a game. There's never been a greater example of a burn-the-tape type of game, but you simply cannot do that. You don't have the time. They don't have the space. They're running out of runway. They are not far enough ahead of anyone to be losing a game like this. And you know what? If they lost, even in regulation, sucks, obviously. But if it was at least close, if you could at least see that they fought tooth and nail and they left it all on the ice, and they just couldn't get away from the first place team, I don't think we would be that upset about that. But the fact that it looked like they had never put on a pair of skates before for 60 minutes of gameplay was unforgivable. It was embarrassing. But I want to sweep this one under the rug. I really do. I, as a fan, I'm going to forget about this game as soon as I'm done recording this video. And I'm going to go to the game on Sunday against Vancouver, against a team that has given you locker room poster material. You guys remember. You look better in Pacific Blue anyway. All the players they took from Toronto in expansion and free agency. You remember that. Toronto can't let that fly. Not in Toronto. Not at home. Not after the game they just had. They need to use this as fuel, as kindling, as bloody gasoline on the fire, and they need to blow out Vancouver like a 7-0. If they come out like this again on Sunday, dude, I don't even know what to say. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Click like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more. Can't repeat that.